Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to a show that doesn't have a name. You've been through a desert on a horse with no name. Well, you're watching a show with no name. We're going to come up with a name, and maybe our viewers will come up with a name. But my name is John DePietro, and I should say I am the original John DePietro. The other one, the controversial one, is the copy, John DePietro. And I'm with Mike Crawford, AKA the Young Jurks. And Mike, welcome to our unnamed show.
To be the other John DePietro show.
Yes, exactly, exactly. You've got the credit. You've got the capability now to say that you were on the first show that we did in this format. The other shows that we've done and already aired, we did live at the courthouse. But Mike, the reason I'm calling you is because in the last few months, certainly in your case, much longer than that, I'm sure you'd agree that the way people consume media today is totally changed. And one of the key factors, one of the key reasons that it's changed was because of the coverage of the Karen Reed trial, where I became um, familiar with your program and style and everything else. Talk about that, how your life has changed since the verdict.
But well, since I jumped on this Karen Reed 2 years ago, August, I looked it up. It was August 2023 when I first had Aiden on my show
Yep.
to talk about Karen Reed. And that changed my life. That was the moment that everything changed for me, where, I've been doing this stuff. The Young Jerks has been around for over 10 years, like in obscurity, and I've done a lot of activism and a lot of journalism in the past. I wrote for Dig Boston. It was the alternative weekly for over a decade. So I have some experience. I did have like a niche following in the cannabis space and workers' rights, but nothing like this. And nothing to the effect where I know how many people are watching, where I'm walking down the street, people are telling me about my show last night, and having a lot of media figures, a lot of local media figures that I actually have followed and watched and listened to find out that they're watching my show. It's wild to hear it. Like when I first found out Howie Carr was watching us. I mean, I was just like, are you kidding me? He's the legend and he's watching me. Are you kidding me? Like
Yep.
I've been watching Howie Carr, listening to his show for decades on WRKO. So yeah, things have definitely changed. It's exciting to see. It's definitely changed my life. I think this has kind of been a trajectory even before Karen Reed, just the change in media landscape. There's so many of us that used to work for different publications. Even myself, I wouldn't really call myself a media professional, but I did have like a weekly gig for a long time where I was a
Yep.
columnist with the alternative weekly print publication Dig Boston. That's out of business now. So there's a lot of us like that, whether they're at the Globe or the Herald or wherever, they got laid off. They lost their
Yep.
jobs. So a
Exactly.
lot of them are on Substack. Some of them are starting YouTube channels. Some of them are just on Twitter. But people have kind of realized that they can go independent. And even for me, like I'm starting to get some real media offers again. And I always question, like, do I want to leave my house?
Right.
Because this
I
is
know.
so easy
I
to
know.
do just from
I
my
know.
house with no boss,
I
no
know.
sponsorship. Even when we were independent doing like the internet streaming stations that used to sponsor my show, that's how I started. Uh, it'd still be some management. There'd still be a level of sponsors and things you had to be careful about. Now it's like I can do whatever I want on this YouTube channel as long as YouTube doesn't cancel me. And even if they do, we just go to another platform. So
And there are
it's
there
just
are other platforms, but you mentioned Howie Carr, and you know what? You do have something in common with Howie Carr, not just
totally.
subject matter, but Mike Barnacle, the same thing, is that you both were writers that then picked up video. Okay. How was that transition for you to go from just sitting by a laptop or Mike? Um, you don't remember the IBM Selectric days. You're much younger than that, right?
No, I remember IBM, of
The
course.
IBM Selectric,
Commodore
typewriter.
64 and yeah, all
Yeah,
those. Yeah, that's how
electric
we started
typewriter.
out in the beginning.
But
Yeah.
talk about that movement from purely writing, where then you had to actually comb your hair and make yourself look presentable.
Funny because when I first
Sort of.
started out, I was more of an activist. I was working for a nonprofit. I was running a lot of concerts and fundraisers. and I actually did get that. That was when I got the offer to write for Dig Boston. But at the same time, I was already just starting to do an internet radio show. So there was no video. It was just us on a streaming, radio station, doing like the audio streams. So that was where I started. Uh, the video shows, it's for me, it's still a little awkward being on camera. I don't really like it, honestly. I don't mind the voice as much. It was much easier to do it that way, like it was radio. Um, but it's so much easier than writing. Writing is for me. I know other people maybe can bang out something, and when I got good at it, I could come up with a story and in a couple hours and bang it out. But today it would take me a week because I'm so rusty and out of sync on it. But writing just takes more time, more thought, more process. You got to review it. Where shows are just so easy and immediate. Something's going on. Just get that guest on the show. Let's have the conversation. 2 hours later, we're done. On to the next day. I just like the immediacy of it and the fact that so many people are watching on these YouTube shows. So that's
Look,
what's amazing is to find out how many people are watching, who's watching, to get all the tips, to get all the feedback. I just love that. I love the immediacy of it and the fact the audience is there. They're letting you know there's a feedback loop and you get more information. If you get something wrong or you miss something, they're going to let you know and they're going to send you the tips and keep
yeah.
you up to date. So
Plus, Mike,
it's perfect for me.
when you hit the stop record button, you're done. It's not like when you were writing and you went to an event and then you had to leave the event. I remember when I first started in the media business right out of college, I was covering high school basketball. I had to leave my house, drive to the
Absolutely.
gym, watch the game, interview a coach, drive back to the newspaper, go up 4 flights of stairs, and have them tell me how much I could write. And if you figured how much you were paid by the hour, you probably wouldn't have done it because I was getting $10 a game. But
So
today,
true. That reminds me of, yeah, because I my first journalism gig was in Bridgewater State College. I was a Bridgewater State College wrestler. For first season, I got the knee surgery. It was my second knee surgery. I
no,
tried to come back sophomore year. I got my third knee surgery. My parents said to me, "We can't afford any more knee surgeries. You can't wrestle anymore." And I was so down. So I was like, "What am I gonna do?" Well, I'll write about the wrestling team. No one's covering it from the newspaper. I went in. The next thing I know, I'm the sports editor, and it was exactly the same thing. What you're talking about. We had to,
sports
you'd be at
editor.
the event, you'd run over to the office, you'd type it into the computer, and it's just like it's so time consuming. It's
Okay.
so different now too that we can do everything at home. Even the writing. I mean, it's still time consuming, but at least you don't have to go to their office. You can do it for your own office, your own
So
basement.
when you were writing about wrestling, was it wrestling or wrestling?
Yep, college wrestling or
Wrestling.
wrestling. We call it
Wrestling was
wrestling. Yeah,
WWE.
yeah,
Okay.
college wrestling.
How many times did you use the word grappler?
Probably all the time. Like, I mean, it's funny because when you start writing about something, you have to come up with the one I laugh about that I used to write about was cannabis or weed or
We,
hemp or
yeah.
pot or it's so funny because the audience would come back at you like they'd be like, "Don't call it pot." Don't call it marijuana. It's cannabis. People get like very upset what you call it, but it's like I'm using the words that are popular. If
Right.
weed's popular, we're using that word. So it's funny when you write about something, you have to come up with all the different
All the
phrases
hot
and terms
words
for it.
with the
Yeah, so
phrases
you're not saying the same one over and over again.
within the genre of wrestling. Um, the funny thing is, many times when people are doing interviews like this, they've got a list of 10 questions that they've written down before they ask you the first one, and then they just read the questions. Okay, in regards to what you say, but to prove that I was listening to you, you said something earlier about having to sell ads and that type of thing. Okay. The traditional way that you did a show like this is that you found the sponsor. You went out to Ernie Bach or you went to, somebody else and you found the sponsor. And then there were certain things that you could say and you couldn't say. But today, it's totally different. Talk about Venmo, Cash App, and all the other programs that are out there that allow your readers, it's almost pay for play. talk about that and how it may have changed your life. And certainly when you look at what Aiden's done or Melanie Little, I mean, I counted, 5 minutes of their monetary donations one day, and I said, why even bother with sponsors? Talk about your
No, no
to it.
doubt. I mean, it's funny I mentioned the internet radio stations. We used
Yep.
to always get sponsors for my show. My show was kind of the flagship at these stations. The stations were mostly pay to play in terms of the shows,
Yes,
except
right.
for mine.
Yeah.
Like they liked me and they knew that they could get other shows to pay based on the success of my show. So they used to uh, we used to get sponsors for mine. Sometimes they were cannabis companies, sometimes they were lawyers, and a lot of times they were shady people. Like it's so funny that they'd want to basically sponsor, because of my reputation. They'd want to use my reputation. And I really didn't have any say on it, because the management of the stations were our sponsors. They weren't charging us. They were charging other shows on the
Yep.
network to, have a
Beyond.
show. So
Yep.
so for me, when they'd have a sponsor in, it'd be like, oh, I have to support this sponsor now. But half the time, honestly, I end up burning them. I would end up shitting on them because if they did something that was terrible, I wasn't going to hide it for you know and ruin my reputation. So a lot of times we'd have sponsors come in, pay 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 bucks, and then a week later I'm bashing the shit out of them because they did something shady. There was one specific one. I remember he did a cannabis convention. There's a couple cannabis conventions that sponsored us. New England Cannabis Convention. They're great. I actually used to work for them. They actually gave me some journalism awards later after I stopped working for them. They're great. They're the local guys. There was an out of state guy who came in and threw some money around. And he did some shady shit. And he was a perfect example. Eventually, I just said, you know what? I'm calling this guy out. I don't care if he ever sponsors us again. And that's just the way it is. Now, I don't have to worry about any of that. It's listener audience supported. They love us and they're giving in and kicking in. And I just can't believe how many of them support us. Like it just for me, it's wild. Back in the day, there'd be one or two or three people maybe that would kick in. And now it's like every show, there's people kicking in and supporting. And it's made a difference. It's made a big difference for me where I could focus on this. I used to do a show every once in a while, every couple weeks, maybe once a week if I was really ambitious. Now I'm doing shows like 3, 4, 5 times a week because
Yeah, that was going to
the
ask you.
support is there. The financial support is there. It makes sense to do them, and the audience wants it. I want to do it, and they're making it financially feasible that I can spend more time on this and not have to work so much doing another job. Before this was my hobby. This media stuff for the last 15 years has been my hobby. And sometimes I'd go more hard. When I was writing for Dick Boston, I was weekly. I was doing a weekly column. So I was going pretty hard during that period. But then there were some lulls and dips and times where I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to do this anymore until August of 2023 with Aiden when he came on my show and I saw the audience and the response and even the boycotting of me. That was what really drove me over the edge with this too. It's like I'm a liberal, if people know that, or a moderate, whatever you want to call me. I'm not a Trumper.
Talk about the book.
And yeah, it's so many people who are supposedly on the left were canceling me because I had Aiden on my show, and it's like you're the same people that didn't show up for the workers when I was organizing workers. You'd rather hate on Aiden. You'd rather boycott Aiden. You'd rather do the performative stuff, chase the Nazis around, than actually do stuff that helps
Yeah.
workers. Like that was what killed me. I saw a 27-year-old woman die at a dispensary. We predicted that was going to happen. I'm pro cannabis, but here these dispensaries are abusing their workers. They're not offering worker protection. The workers come on my show. They tell me somebody's going to die. And then a 27-year-old actually did die. And mostly the liberals did nothing in the state. So for me, and then they attack me for having Aiden on, the most pure one around that's not a scumbag, that's not in it for the money, that has no political aspirations. I've always done it for the right reasons. And they're attacking me. And I'm watching the right support me. And I'm just like, wow, okay, okay. So, there are a lot of liberals who get this, who do support me, who do watch my show.
Mm.
And a lot of them have been around on this. And a lot of them were silently like me watching Aiden going, I don't like everything he says. I don't like his politics, but I like when he exposes the bad people in this state. I like when he
And
saved
that's got nothing to
dog.
do with Democrat or Republican. It's
No,
corruption is
no, it's what we
corruption.
agree
And
on.
as we know in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, um, Suffolk County, the Boston area, Revere, Medford, Malden, Quincy, that area used to be, you know, uh, the head of everything, but now it's moved out into the suburbs. And his whole thing is, I mean, he started in Worcester in 2013. And as my wife said, he used to talk about fat people at Walmarts and take pictures and that type of thing. But, as I spoke with him, and he's been on one of the shows, one of the segments here on the Substack, um, he's now a national figure. And he never expected that. And you probably never expected this. And I never expected to be interviewing people that were interviewing people. Because my whole thing was writing about RVs, and prior to that, writing about college sports and high school sports. So, what has been the highlight of your recent career as far as you going on other people's shows? Who have been some cool people that you've been associated with?
Well, it's always I've never actually been on his show in terms of being a guest, but it's always cool when Aiden mentions you on his show.
Yeah,
It just even a mention is very cool. He's been on my show a bunch of times, so that's been phenomenal. The biggest thing, I will mention some shows I've been on that were great in a second, but like probably the biggest thing in the last couple of years for me is finding Mark Betterow. I mean, attorney Mark Betterow has been phenomenal.
yeah.
At one point, I just noticed he was on Twitter, and like I said, I've interviewed a ton of politicians and attorneys and criminal defense and prosecutors, former DAs, former U.S. attorney, 4 Congress reps, a U.S. senator. So I recognize who the serious people are. I recognize this guy is legit right away on Twitter, and he was going after Wendy Murphy, and I was just like, "Will you come on my show and talk about Wendy Murphy?" He's like, I don't know too much about Karen Reed, but I'll talk about Wendy Murphy. Her statements are so out of line as a
Oh,
defense attorney. I can't accept this. By the time he came on the show, he was ready to talk about Karen Reed. And we were off. I'd say he did like 10 or 15 shows before anyone realized. And all the other biggest shows started jumping on him. And now he's on everybody's shows. And it's
he
phenomenal to see. And
he's
Aiden hired
everywhere,
him. Yeah,
and
he's everywhere.
he wears these cool shirts. Uh,
Yes.
he's got a different logoed shirt because I approached him after Aiden's trial, though, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was. And we were all set to do the interview, and then he got called away and whatever. But I said to him, "Hey, I want to talk to you not about the trial and about the details of the case, but about the fact that lawyers now don't have to play lawyer anymore. You can just be a play-by-play commentator in other people's cases." And but I did question him about, hey, what's with the Red Sox shirt, the Celtic shirt? He goes, I live in New York, but I'm from Boston. So,
He's from Framingham. He's from Framingham,
oh,
grew up in
Framingham.
Framingham. And
Okay.
that's his connection. And I got to say that his friend Rich Vetstein, who is a real estate attorney, phenomenal. He's made some headlines helping people out with like title fraud and a bunch of other stuff going on, like bankruptcies of a real estate firm. He's phenomenal. And he's grew up with Betterow. And he's the one who got Betterow interested in this on Twitter, and then I saw what Betterow was posting, invited him on the show, and ever since, I mean, he's just phenomenal.
How many times you been on?
He's one of the how many times he's been on my show?
Yeah.
I'd say like I can't. We had a list like a playlist of him. It was over 60, and I'd say it's probably over 70, maybe 80 times
Okay.
now.
So
Like it's
he's
probably
accessible.
even close to 100. He's been on so many times. It's not even funny.
Okay.
Um,
I got because he's on my
and
list to call.
Yeah, and
And
I gotta say with he's very hot. Like back when we first started, it was much easier to book him.
yeah.
Like I'd be like, "You want to come on tonight?" He'd be, "Yep," or he'd be hitting me up. Want to do a show tonight? Yep, let's do it. Like, and now it's like it takes 3 or 4 or 5 days for him to get back because he's got a million other shows and he's obviously busy with his law firm as well. So I'm happy. I love to see him to watch him go on all these other shows and national television. And I gotta say, like one of the you mentioned to get back to your original question, what were some of the biggest moments the last couple of years on going on shows? It's because of Betterow. Like the first people that called Betterow, one of the first local big ones was Howie Carr show.
Yeah.
Howie Carr started having hetero on. Grace Curley is the junior show on the Howie Carr Network. So it's Grace Curley, Howie Carr every day on WRKO and like 15, 20 other stations all over New England. They're syndicated. They're huge. Howie Carr is a legend. I've been following him for so long. He's kind of like the blueprint of what I do in a lot of respects, especially when I was a writer and had a show. But now I don't write as much. I'm just doing the show. But it's the same. Like I always, what do I love Howie? Again, it's not for the political stuff. I like Howie when he's going after the mobsters back in the day. That was amazing. And the corrupt politicians and the scandals and the local stuff. He is so good at that, the muckraking and talking about it on his show. And I've like for years, I've always said, I didn't come here to be made sport of. That's directly ripping off Howie Carr. Before I met Howie, before I even had any, and I used to go after him when I was writing in Dig Boston. There was some columns you'll find where I went after Howie Carr about the cannabis issue specifically. We used to be, butt heads on that stuff. And so for me, it was like same thing with Aiden. I don't agree with his politics, but I love a lot of what he does, and they inspire me. They inspire me to like when I see what they're doing, I recognize that I can do the same stuff. I've been kind of doing the same stuff. Like I need to dig more into it, and they are like the blueprint, especially Howie. He's been around for so long. So to be able to meet Howie Carr, like I've been on his show once. I've been on Grace Curley. I'm a regular every Friday guest on the Grace Curley show talking about this stuff. That's been freaking amazing to get on Howie Carr just to talk to him for a couple minutes and him to mention my name, Mike Crawford, the young when he first said my name, he's talking about a Bettero interview we had done the night before. I lost it. I was like, are you shitting me? Howie Carr is listening to our friggin' show and he's talking about it on the show. He's playing a clip. Like, are you kidding me? That was like for me, because I've been following him in the Herald, his writing, and his show for so long. So, and then to get to go up to the studio and to be in Howie Carr's friggin' office while he's got the newspapers out and he's circling stuff and cutting out the Wall Street Journal. And I'm just like, this is exactly what I expected. Then we go into his little, conference room and we're talking about local politicians and shadiness. And I'm just like, this is exactly where I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking sitting here with Howie Carr. I can't believe it. Like and they have me every Friday as a guest on that Grace Curley show. I couldn't be happier to be associated with them. It's just an honor in my life to be
You
part
bring
of
up
this.
a funny thing, though. Again, as I told you, I spent my time in the mainstream media thing in the world of radio, and I was always on the sales side, but I started doing some substitute hosting and afternoon drive, and the person whose show I was doing was one of those guys, former politician, former mayor of Worcester, who came in, and he had all his newspapers cut up. He would spend the whole morning circling and cutting up newspapers, and that's how he would work off a manila folder, right? And today, the way the young people in the media business do it, they just have everything all online. But the cool thing was looking at those newspapers all cut up. They had the magic marker so that if you used a magic marker, it would go through the other side of the page, so you couldn't read anything. But the follow-up question to that same thing is when you would attend Karen's trial, you said that you would walk the streets. You would be over by the buffer zone, and you'd be on the steps of the district. What do you call it? The Registry of Deeds. Did you ever notice any of the mainstream people, what they were doing while you're around talking to people and getting scoops? Did you notice what I noticed, that the glamour kids from the TV stations, all they were doing was
they're up top. I mean, I look at them as a freaking joke.
Checking their hair.
I'm there all day. I'm wearing Young Jurks shit. I'm more popular than they are. I am at this point, especially in that crowd.
Yeah.
And they're not talking to me.
No, they're
ignoring me. They don't care about me. It's like some of them actually. I know some of them know me and will like scowl at me.
Right.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay, now you're gonna do a YouTube show. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Some of them, they're trying to compete with us.
Right.
And it's so funny because for so long they tried to ignore us. When the Boston Globe actually a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, covered one of the stories. My biggest story before Karen Reed was the death of a 27-year-old cannabis worker. And the workers that came on my show had predicted someone was going to die, and this woman died. And the Globe actually acknowledged it. Globe actually acknowledged it. I was the one who broke the story. And they basically said in their editorial page, Mike Crawford was right about everything. And it was just it was an amazing moment to see.
You have
So,
that
I
cutout?
do get that.
You have
Yeah,
that
I got, no, I don't. I mean, whatever,
framed in the
the
wall?
one I got. The only one I got in the office here is the Boston Herald when Turtleboy's on the cover. I mean, that's the only one I really cared about.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, because there's still a lot of them that will look down on us, and it's just funny as hell because it's
They're
like
chasing us now.
you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of us.
Right.
You know,
Exactly right. Exactly
like
right.
we created the audience. Now you're in on it, and now you're going to pretend that we don't exist. Like, give me a break.
You
And
got
half
to.
of them I know are watching us. Half of them I know are watching us. So whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious as we walk through the crowd, get all the info, get all the, like you said, the tips and the love and the presents from everyone, and they're up on the steps hiding from the people. That's what they were doing. They had police escorts. So like I couldn't even get up. I try to get up there. It's funny. The real journalism, I can't even get up to the press area because I don't have the papers. I'm not officially sanctioned by the state of Massachusetts, even though I've got journalism awards, even though I've been professionally doing this for years now, even though this is my full-time living, even though I got more eyeballs on me than some of these outlets that they give a Grant Smith Ellis a friggin' pass. What is his credential?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? And I don't get a pass? Like,
Yeah. The
I have
glamour boys
credentials.
from the network show up and they got all their makeup on and whatever. But the crazy thing is
So
the
I
world is
revel it.
changing.
I revel in it. I love to be the man of the people. I love not to be a snob. I'm not a classist. I'm not looking to be the big dude. I love it. I just love that the people recognize who I am, and I love our Free Karen Reed movement too. The people that
Well,
I've met just been amazing.
I followed Aiden one day. He happened to walk by and everybody's coming up for posing for pictures and stuff. So I just put
Yeah,
my camera on and followed him, and I did a video that's got like 20,000 views on it. I'll send it to you if you ever want to use it. But
I think I did watch it.
the
Yes.
whole thing is the people from the other side, from the network affiliates, they don't mingle with the crowd at all.
No,
And
no.
they've got 90 seconds to tell their story, and you've got 3 hours to tell the story, 4 if you need it. And how much truth can you expose in 90 seconds? When you're worried about a weather sponsorship or a sports report coming up, it's amazing.
It's also lazy too. It's also lazy
Right,
too. Like
right.
I give you a perfect example. There's a reason why, like you mentioned, how many times have I had Bettero on the show? The reason why I've had him on 80s or whatever times. Number one, because he's the best speaker on it. Number two, he's super knowledgeable. And number three, the audience freaking loves him.
Yep,
He is so like, if I have him on, I know I'm getting 100,000 views
yep.
every night. Every time he's on, I'm getting
So I gotta get
100,000 views.
I
But
gotta
why isn't he on court TV? Why is it channel 4, 5, 7 knocking at his door every night saying, come on? Because they're friggin' lazy
But
and
John
they're
DePietro,
stupid.
but
They
the
are
other John
stupid.
DePietro is on Court TV.
Yeah, think about it. And nobody wants to see him. Nobody wants to hear a word he says. He's got no audience, no pull. I mean, it's like the court letting Grant Smith Ellison. You
Yeah,
let this dude in that everybody knows he's not credible. I am credible. I've had a U.S. senator on my show, 4 U.S. Congress people, a U.S. attorney, district attorneys, multiple mayors, tons of state senators. I had them all on my show.
yeah,
They don't go on Grant Smith Ellis.
yeah.
Like, who's actually a journalist? And they won't accept my YouTube show as being journalism in the state of Massachusetts.
Oh.
Again, this is what I know: the snobbery, the classism in the state.
It's
I
all
am so
changing.
done with it.
It's
They think they're better than me. I am better than they are. I'm better than the state politicians and the state hacks
Yep.
that determine that I'm not a journalism. They won't even get back to me. They won't even respond to me. So I couldn't get into the courtroom. But here's the media, folks. The fly by night media sitting up top, too good for the people, but they get into the courtrooms. They don't even know what the hell's going on half the time. They're not covering it. They're too
it's
lazy to even have Mark Bettero on their
no, no,
show.
no. They're sitting around the truck. They're sitting around the truck all day. They're not in the courtroom.
Lazy.
But
And
anyway,
that's why we're beating them, because we're not lazy. We're gonna
that's
have the
all
best. We're
changing.
gonna have the best show that people want to hear, not what we think people should get.
Yep.
We're gonna have the best show that people want to watch.
That's all changing, and we want to thank you so much. Would you come back
I'm a little
again at
fired up.
another time?
Yeah, I'm a little fired up, aren't I?
Okay.
Did I
Well,
get a
that's
little
what you
fired up,
want to
Sean?
look at. I wrote a book a few years ago. Actually, it's 20 years ago now, called "You Don't Have to Be Perfect to Be Great," and the top chapter was you need excitement, compassion, and emotion to be successful. We're running out of time. I've got just a few seconds left to say thank you so much and tell people that it's the Young Jerks. Now, you're also on Facebook. You're also on Instagram, all those other places. So we'll tell people just now Mike, you can be Googled and everything's good. So we want to thank Mike Crawford for being with us here on the show that doesn't have a name. And if you've got questions you want to ask Mike, just write into me and we'll send them into him and we'll get back to you. So it's John DePietro saying thank you, Mike Crawford, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks,